Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe Archino back here. In news for the Baltimore Ravens today as they sign their quarterback Joe Flacco and extend his contract 3 years until 2021. But it's one of those things where Joe Flacco is kind of the perfect example of how a team goes from being relevant, being consistently in the playoffs, winning a Super Bowl in their case, to now being out of the playoff picture and now trying to get back there. And it all comes down to when you have to pay your quarterback these mega deals. Now, you don't fault Joe Flacco for that because he's just following the precedent that had been set prior to that point, but it commands a significant amount of money to hold on to a franchise quarterback in this league, and the hit you take on your salary cap is gigantic because of it. When you look at Drew Brees, the cap hit he makes for the New Orleans Saints, Flacco had taken up so much of his team's cap hit, and it really handcuffs you to not be able to fill out that roster the right way. The Seahawks kind of had the perfect dichotomy because they had Russell Wilson, who they didn't have to sign to a big contract yet, and they were able to accumulate and hold on to so much talent. They were able to bring in a guy like Percy Harvin, who helped them win a Super Bowl, and they're able to sign a guy like Cliff Averill, who helped them win a Super Bowl. All of the elements that they had that helped them get to 2 Super Bowls really were just helped even more by the fact that they didn't have to pay their quarterback. And that's what we see so much in the NFL now is the Ravens won that Super Bowl, and then they had to pay Flacco. He won it. They got there because of him, because of his strong play. He was tremendous. They had no choice but to pay him. Now they're kind of in a better position where his contract's not going to take as much of a hit. They're going to save about $6 million this year, $13 million the next year, and sometimes that's just what you have to do. Sometimes you just have to put your ego aside and just do what's best for the team. And clearly you give Flacco a lot of credit there because it's not easy. He's still going to be one of the highest paid players in the National Football League. But it's that kind of standard in the NFL today where you have to pay your quarterback. But once you do, sometimes the results are just not the same. Now, some teams just have a way of navigating through that stuff and they're able to make it work. But look at the New Orleans Saints. I mean, Drew Brees, what have the Saints done since that they won their Super Bowl, which just seems like so long ago, but really, I mean, 2000, when you go back to that time, it's a long time ago that they won their Super Bowl, and honestly, you can't find that much success that they have done since that time. And Drew Brees, of course, they signed that mega deal with him, but these contracts, it's such a complicated situation with all these teams because you have to pay them, because if you don't have a quarterback in this league, you're not winning anything as it is. But at the same time, the teams who are winning behind depth in all the key phases, and a lot of times that's because they're not stricken by that one contract that's dragging them down. And that's why when you look at the Sue deal with the Dolphins, it really is it doesn't make much sense. I mean, Sue is a great player, did not live up to the contract he was given, but certainly if you're the Dolphins, you can't commit that significant of a cap hit to a defensive player as it is. I mean, it's part of the challenge in the NFL, and it's why these GMs are paid so much money. It's because figuring things like this out is very, very complicated. Building a winning team top to bottom, navigating through the salary cap is so difficult to do, and now we'll certainly see if this helps out the Ravens anymore, which it really should, because that amount of money, certainly, I think even the smallest amount helps, because it's such a burden to put on a GM to try to have to navigate through all those things. And sometimes if you're like the Seahawks, you can get by and you just have that perfect example. But even if you're the Broncos, once kind of Peyton Manning's contract is off the books and they're probably going to figure something out with Osweiler, which I don't think any of us expect to be anywhere near the amount a Cam Newton type contract or a Russell Wilson type contract would be. And that certainly keeps them still relevant, because then they probably still can't have a guy like Von Miller, and they can keep a lot of those great defensive players. The next conversation is Andrew Luck in the Indianapolis Colts. Now, if you ask, Jim Irsay has been on the record in saying that Luck's deal will probably be blow minds. It will probably be the biggest, most lucrative contract in NFL history. And the first question is Luck worth that amount? And I'd say yes, he is worth that. But the next question you have to ask is that going to inhibit the Colts from holding up a Lombardi trophy, from having immediate success, or are they just going to have a great quarterback locked up to an incredible big deal, which essentially could be handcuffs? And you have to say that's a potential as well because, again, in the talent acquisition process, you just can't do as much of the acquisitioning when you have that gigantic contract on your books. It's certainly a problem I'm glad I don't have to figure out because it's such a difficult thing to get your head around because, again, you need your quarterback. You can't win without him, but you can't put the talent around him when they're locked up with these contracts. I mean, we saw steadily with the Ravens, I'll go back to them again, the talent around Flacco decrease once he got that deal because they just couldn't afford to surround him with as many great playmakers. As it is, Andrew Luck's not working with the best talent. If they sign him to this record-breaking deal, how much talent are they going to be able to keep surrounding him with? I mean, does Andrew Luck want T.Y. Hiltons around him, or does he want little-name receivers around him? I mean, it's one of those things where it's very difficult. It's part of the fun in the National Football League because building rosters is a challenge. It's why it's such a coveted position to hold as a GM and why it's such a stressful job, but they always do have to figure it out. Sometimes you fall in the perfect situation. Sometimes you find workaways around it. And certainly in a lot of cases, it's something that keeps GMs at night. But I think Flacco was kind of helped set that standard of where these contracts have continued to go. We know the money continues to go up in the NFL, but it's not like in the NBA where the NBA, the TV deals have just put so much more money in the owners' pockets, and because of the way their revenue system is split up, that means that the salary caps are going up. It gives teams more opportunities to sign more players, to increase money, and everything works. But in the NFL, it's such a different just entity altogether, and it just makes roster building so much more difficult. But again, that's part of the challenge. It's part of the reason the sport is so much fun, but it's always a difficult question to answer. Obviously, everyone has their own opinions, and I'm curious on what your answer is, but it really comes down to two things. It's, do you pay the quarterback and be relevant because you have a quarterback and you're not going to be relevant without, or do you try to figure something out? I mean, it's difficult to say to the quarterback, we're going to have to give you less money to try to build a better roster around you. Some are willing to do that, some are not, but it is a very difficult process to figure out. But Joe Flacco has helped his team certainly heading into the future. Until next time, though, Jersey Joe Archino here with the Sports Vault. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Archino and on Instagram, Jersey_Joe_Archino, and I'll see everybody next time.